Welcome back to us Mint Mysteries, where the coins in your pocket might just be worth more than a luxury car, or even a house. Today, we're diving into the world of ultra-rare silver Washington quarters that could be hiding in plain sight. Coins so rare, a single one could turn an ordinary day into a life-changing discovery. So grab your magnifier, and let's see if you've been carrying a hidden fortune all along. And hey, if you love uncovering stories of lost U.S. Mint treasures, make sure to hit that subscribe button because what you're about to see will absolutely blow your mind. Now, let's begin with one that almost no one believes exists, the 1986 silver Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might not look like much. In fact, most of them appear dull, worn, and scratched, like this one here, in bad condition. But don't let the surface fool you. Beneath that tarnish lies something incredibly rare, a 90% silver quarter that technically shouldn't even exist. Here's why this coin makes collectors' jaws drop. By 1986, the U.S. Mint had stopped using silver in regular quarters for over 2 decades. Since 1965, all circulating Washington quarters were made of copper and nickel, not silver. So, if you find a 1986 quarter that tests positive for silver content, you might just be holding a mint error of monumental proportions. Imagine this: a blank silver planchet, a leftover from earlier commemorative or proof runs, accidentally fed into the press during 1986's regular quarter production. The result? A 1986 dated quarter struck on a silver planchet, something that officially should never have left the mint floor. Collectors call these off-metal strikes, and they are among the rarest mint errors ever recorded. Most examples are believed to have been melted down, but a handful may have slipped through undetected, ending up in everyday circulation, mixed in with ordinary pocket change. Now, let's talk value. In bad condition, like this one, the coin might look worthless to the untrained eye, but its rarity changes everything. Even a damaged or circulated 1986 silver strike can command between $8,000 to $15,000. Simply because so few are known to exist. But here's where things get unbelievable. If you were to find this same 1986 quarter in uncirculated condition, bright, with crisp details, and that unmistakable silver luster, its auction value could skyrocket into the $250,000 to $400,000 range. And if it's confirmed as a mint error with original silver composition through metallurgical testing, some numismatic experts estimate it could exceed $500,000 at the right auction. Yes, over $500,000 for a single quarter. The thought alone is staggering. A 25-cent coin from the mid-80s worth more than a luxury home. But the key is in knowing how to identify one. Hold your 1986 quarter under bright light. If it lacks the copper-colored edge seen on regular modern quarters, and instead shows a consistent silver tone from front to back, that's your first clue. It should also feel slightly heavier, about 6.25 grams, compared to the standard 5.67 grams of a normal copper-nickel piece. Collectors also look for faint die cracks, double strikes, or planchet misalignments, all hints that the coin didn't follow normal minting rules. If you suspect you've found one, do not clean it ever. Cleaning can destroy thousands of dollars in collector value. Instead, have it certified by a reputable grading service like PCGs or NGC, which can verify its metal composition and strike authenticity. The story behind this coin captures everything collectors love about the hobby: mystery, history, and the thrill of discovery. A simple pocket find that defies all logic. It's the kind of coin that keeps us digging through old jars, inherited collections, and dusty rolls from banks, just hoping lightning might strike twice. And that's just the beginning. Because as unbelievable as the 1986 silver quarter sounds, the next one on our list climbs even higher in rarity and in value. You won't believe what the next coin sold for when it hit the auction block. Now, moving on to a coin that has stunned even veteran collectors. The 1982 silver Washington quarter. At first glance, you might think, wait, there were no silver quarters in the 1980s. And you'd be right, officially, there weren't. That's what makes this one so incredibly rare. Because every now and then, something slips through the cracks at the U.S. Mint. And when that happens, legends are born. The 1982 Washington quarter is famous not for what it was supposed to be, but for what a few of them turned out to be by pure accident. See, 1982 was a year of major change. The mint was cutting costs, experimenting with planchets, and producing both proof and uncirculated sets in San Francisco. During that transition, a few leftover, 90% silver planchets from the early commemorative runs somehow found their way into regular quarter production presses, and out came a small number of 1982 quarters struck on silver planchets. Never meant for circulation. Now imagine you come across one in extra fine condition. Like this one, sharp details, light wear on Washington's hair, and that brilliant white silver surface shining back at you. To most people, it's just another quarter, but to collectors, it's a ghost, a mistake that was never supposed to exist. Let's talk value, because this is where your jaw will drop. In average circulated condition, these off-metal 1982 quarters have sold for between $7,000 and $12,000. But in extra fine condition, the price jumps dramatically. Coins graded XF40 or better, verified as struck on silver, have been known to sell for $65,000 to $120,000. And when you move into the mint state range, bright surfaces, minimal marks, perfectly struck, the record prices go absolutely sky high. One confirmed silver struck 1982 quarter reportedly crossed the $300,000 mark at auction. That's right, a single quarter that could buy a luxury sports car. And experts believe fewer than 10 genuine examples exist, making it one of the rarest post-1964 quarters ever produced by the U.S. Mint. So, how can you tell if your 1982 quarter might be one of these elusive treasures? Start with the edge. Normal quarters made after 1965 have that distinct copper line running through the side, but the silver strike doesn't. It's solid, uniform silver all the way through. Next, weigh it. A genuine silver quarter will tip the scale at around 6.25 grams, while a standard clad version weighs only 5.67 grams. That tiny difference could mean the world. And here's something most people miss: the sound. Drop it gently on a wooden surface. If you hear a crisp, ringing chime instead of a dull clank, you might just be holding one of the rarest modern U.S. quarters in history. Collectors love this coin because it bridges two eras: the silver age of pre-1965 coinage and the modern clad era. It's the mint's unintentional time capsule, a mistake that turned into one of the most sought-after discoveries in numismatic history. But imagine the thrill: someone sorting through a handful of 1980 seconds change, spotting that silver shine, and realizing it's worth hundreds of thousands. Stories like these are what make the hobby addictive. It's not just about the money, it's about uncovering pieces of history that were never supposed to exist. So, the next time you come across a 1982 quarter in your collection, especially one that looks unusually bright or heavy, don't ignore it. You could be staring at a six-figure piece of U.S. mint history. Next up, we move to one of the most shocking discoveries of all, the 1996D silver Washington quarter. Now, just hearing that date might not stir much excitement at first. After all, 1996 quarters are everywhere. Most of us probably still have a few lying around in jars or old drawers. But here's the twist. While millions of 1996 quarters were struck in Denver using standard copper-nickel composition, a tiny handful were mysteriously struck on solid silver planchets. A blunder so unbelievable that even mint insiders struggled to explain how it happened. Picture this: Denver, 1996. The mint is running full production for regular circulation quarters. At the same time, the San Francisco Mint is striking 90% silver-proof coins for collector sets. Somewhere in the supply line, a few of those silver blanks meant only for the San Francisco proofs accidentally got mixed into Denver's regular batch. The presses struck them, stamped that bold D mint mark, and sent them into circulation, and that's where the legend began. Today, the 1996D silver quarter is one of the most talked about modern rarities in American coinage. It's living proof that miracles still happen in minting and that hidden treasures still pass through everyday hands. Now, let's talk about what an extra fine example means. When a coin survives decades of circulation, yet still holds crisp detail. Washington's hairline's clear, the eagle's feathers sharp, that's a collector's dream. In extra fine condition, the coin glows with that silver brilliance, a telltale sign that you're not looking at ordinary clad metal. But here's where it gets truly astonishing. The value, standard 1996D quarter, is worth, well, 25 cents. But if yours turns out to be one of these off-metal silver strikes, its worth jumps from pocket change to pure shock. In average circulated condition, confirmed examples have sold for between $10,000 and $25,000. But when you step into extra fine, the value leaps dramatically. Collectors have paid upwards of $75,000 to $150,000 for authenticated examples, and if one ever appears in uncirculated or near mint state, experts estimate it could break the $400,000 mark at auction. That's right, a quarter worth nearly $500,000, struck by accident, and now hunted by collectors worldwide. So, how can you tell if you've found one? Start with the edge, no copper stripe. Instead, it should be a pure silver tone, smooth and even. Next, test the weight. It should come in at approximately 6.25 grams, not the lighter 5.67 grams of modern clad quarters. Hold it under good light. If you see that rich silver shine, brighter than usual, you may just have found something extraordinary, even more interesting. A few known examples of these 1996D silver quarters display faint die rotation errors, where the reverse image is slightly misaligned with the obverse. That subtle twist makes them even rarer, and collectors pay a serious premium for that anomaly. But here's the emotional part. Imagine the story this coin tells. Someone once used it at a gas station, maybe for a morning coffee or a parking meter, never realizing they just spent what could have been their retirement fund. Decades later, that same quarter resurfaces, discovered by a sharp-eyed collector with a magnifier and a bit of luck. That's the magic of U.S. mint mysteries. The idea that unimaginable value can hide in plain sight. It's why collectors across America still check their change every day. Now, we journey back to 1966, a year that changed everything in U.S. coinage history. It was the end of an era, and the beginning of one of the greatest mysteries in Washington quarter collecting. You see, by 1966, the U.S. Mint had officially ended silver circulation coins. Since 1965, quarters were made with the copper-nickel-clad composition, no more 90% silver. The country had moved on, but as collectors have learned, the mint's transition was far from perfect. In the confusion of those years, a few silver planchets leftovers from the 1964 mintage accidentally made their way into the presses. And what they created was a miracle. The 1966 silver Washington quarter. Imagine holding one in your hand, a coin that shouldn't exist. In extra fine condition, like the one we're looking at, you can still see Washington's profile with sharp detail. The word Liberty bold across the top. And that faint silver gleam that instantly sets it apart from the duller, gray-toned clad versions. It's the kind of coin that sends chills down the spine of anyone who knows the story. Here's what makes it so special. During 1965 to 1967, the mint suspended mint marks and proof sets to discourage hoarding. But despite the chaos, a few leftover silver blanks remained in production bins. When those blanks were accidentally struck with 1966 dies, the result was one of the most extraordinary mint errors of the decade, and a mystery that continues to fascinate collectors today. Let's talk about what that means in terms of value. In well-worn, circulated condition, one of these rare off-metal strikes can bring $6,000 to $10,000. But when you step up to extra fine condition, with that crisp definition still intact, and the unmistakable brightness of silver, the value climbs fast, often ranging between $45,000 and $85,000. And here's where things get unreal. An authenticated 1966 quarter struck on a leftover silver planchet, fully uncirculated and verified by PCGs, once fetched a jaw-dropping $325,000 at auction. That's over $250,000 for a coin that looks almost identical to the one in your pocket right now. So, how can you tell if you've stumbled upon one of these legends? Start with the basics. Hold your 1966 quarter on its edge. If you see that copper-colored band, it's just the common clad version. But if the edge is pure silver, smooth and uniform all the way around, you might be onto something. Next, weigh it. Silver quarters should weigh around 6.25 grams, while the normal clad ones come in at about 5.67 grams. That tiny difference is all it takes to separate a life-changing find from an ordinary coin. Many collectors also listen for the sound. Drop it gently on a wooden table. Silver sings a high, ringing tone that stands out instantly from the dull clink of copper nickel. If you hear that ring, your heart might just skip a beat. Every now and then, a silver planchet 1966 quarter surfaces, sending shockwaves through the coin community. Some are found in estate sales, others in old collections, and a few simply pulled from forgotten jars of change. Each discovery reignites the same wonder. How many more could still be out there? What makes this story so powerful is that these coins weren't supposed to survive. They slipped past the mint's strict controls, out into circulation, and into the hands of everyday Americans who had no idea what they were spending. Somewhere, decades ago, someone used a coin like this for a cup of coffee, and today, that very same quarter could pay for an entire home. Next up, we travel to 1967, a year of change, confusion, and coinage chaos in America's minting history. Most collectors know that by this time, silver was supposed to be long gone from quarters. But what if I told you that a few 1967 Washington quarters were secretly struck on leftover silver planchets? Coins that were never supposed to exist, yet somehow slipped through the mint's fingers. Let's dive in. The 1967 quarter is part of what collectors call the transitional era. The mint had just phased out silver in 1965 and was struggling to meet massive coin shortages across the nation. To speed things up, they suspended mint marks and pumped out millions of new copper nickel-clad quarters. But as history shows, when production speeds up, mistakes happen. And one of the greatest minting mistakes of all time occurred during this exact period. Somewhere in the process, a few leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964 or early proof runs were accidentally mixed into the presses. The dies struck 1967 designs onto these older silver blanks, creating an impossible coin. And today, those few surviving examples are among the most breathtaking modern rarities ever discovered. The coin we're looking at now, in extra fine condition, tells that story. Washington's portrait remains strong and detailed, his hairline still visible, and that subtle silver-white shine glinting from the fields. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are sharp, showing only light wear. To most people, it looks like a common quarter, but to collectors, it's a potential treasure worth a small fortune. Let's talk about that fortune dot in circulated condition. A confirmed silver-struck 1967 quarter has been known to fetch between $8,000 and $15,000, but in extra fine condition, where the design is crisp and the silver luster still gleams, the price leaps dramatically. Examples graded XF45 or 050 have been recorded at auction selling for $45,000 to $95,000 depending on the degree of strike and silver purity. And the record? Hold on to your seat. One verified specimen in near mint state, authenticated by NGC, reached an astonishing $325,000. That's right, a 25-cent coin, struck by mistake, selling for the price of an entire house. So, how could you possibly spot one of these in your collection? The trick is subtle but crucial. Start with the coin's edge. If you see a copper-colored core, it's the regular clad version. But if the edge is pure, uniform silver, with no trace of copper, that's your first big clue. Next, weigh it. The normal 1967 clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but a silver planchet quarter should weigh closer to 6.25 grams. That small difference tells a massive story. Then there's the sound test, the famous silver ring. Drop it gently on a wooden surface. Silver sings with a high, bell-like tone that's instantly recognizable to collectors. It's the kind of sound that makes your heart race when you realize what you might have found. Now, The 1967 silver quarter has another twist that makes it even more intriguing. A few examples have been discovered with double die obverses or faint die cracks, adding an extra layer of rarity. A coin that's both silver and error struck? That's a double jackpot in the world of numismatics. Think about it, millions of 1967 quarters were struck, yet only a few handfuls of these off-metal silver errors are believed to exist. It's like finding a single grain of gold dust in a riverbed of pebbles, and what makes the story so emotional is knowing how easily these treasures could have been lost forever. Many likely ended up in circulation, spent on groceries, gas, or a cup of coffee, their value completely unnoticed. That's the charm and the heartbreak of US Mint Mysteries.so. If you happen to find a 1967 quarter that looks just a bit too bright, too heavy, or too different, don't dismiss it. You could be holding one of the most valuable transitional era errors in American history. But don't go anywhere yet, because the next coin in our countdown takes us into the 1970s, where one of the most shocking, high-value minting mistakes ever struck shook the entire coin collecting community. You won't believe how much this next one sold for. Moving on, let's talk about a coin that has left even seasoned collectors speechless, the 1974 silver Washington quarter. Now, most people think nothing special happened with quarters in 1974. They were all supposed to be the standard copper nickel-clad type. Millions were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. All ordinary, all modern. But as history has shown, the mint sometimes makes mistakes that turn routine coins into jaw-dropping rarities. And that's exactly what happened here. You see, the US Mint was in transition during the early 70s, experimenting with metal compositions and preparing for commemorative silver issues. In that busy process, a few leftover 40% silver planchets likely intended for Eisenhower dollars or special collector issues somehow found their way into the quarter presses. The result? A 1974 quarter struck on a silver planchet, something that, by law, should have been impossible. Now, imagine holding one in extra fine condition, like the one we're examining today. The shine is different, not the flat gray of copper nickel, but a soft, radiant silver tone that catches the light beautifully. Washington's portrait is still well defined, with smooth wear on the hair curls and a clean, strong rim. Flip it over, and the eagle still gleams with life, its wings proud, its details clear. It's a coin that looks ordinary until you look closer. This is where the magic of discovery begins. A few sharp-eyed collectors over the years have identified these silver planchet, 1974, quarters by accident. A coin weighed heavier than normal, 6.25 grams instead of 5.67. Or maybe the edge lacked that telltale copper band. Some even noticed the bright, bell-like sound when dropped, that unmistakable silver ring. And when those coins were tested, they turned out to be real, genuine mint errors worth a fortune. Now, let's talk about that fortune. Even in circulated condition, these off-metal silver 1974 quarters can command anywhere from $10,000 to $18,000, but in extra fine condition, like this one, with strong detail and that gorgeous silver glow, the price climbs steeply. Serious collectors have paid between $65,000 and $125,000 for authenticated examples. And the highest verified auction record for a mint confirmed 1970 for silver strike, an unbelievable $410,000 for one quarter. Yes, you heard that right. $410,000 for a coin that was supposed to be worth just 25 cents. And the best part, these coins still surface occasionally, hiding in rolls, jars, or old collections, waiting to be recognized. They're ghosts from an era of experimentation, a reminder that even decades after the end of silver coinage, the mint's mix-ups still created modern-day treasures.